Yeah, thank you, Natalia. Fantastic presentation, Leslie. Really awesome use cases. I was really looking at it. Porsche doing a lot of things. I like the idea of how they're allowing technicians to remotely advise mechanics in real time. That's pretty much a really cool use cases. The guy of Voxel, I think you need to send him to my house, to do some vacuuming.
Yeah, he's welcome at my house too.
One of these guys, that has one name, Voxel. I like it. Very good. And good to have Alan with us, as well. So welcome. Really excited to be joined by both you and Alan. So let's dig in. I think I'll start with you, Alan. You are the co-founder of MetaVRse. I think it would be great, if you can just give some background a little bit on what you guys are doing. But I also want to ask you questions. What are some of the reasons today's organizations are interested in AR, VR? I'd like to understand some of the benefits. I think the audience, will get quite a good understanding. They need a good understanding of that. But also, in terms of some use cases that you guys are doing within the metaverse right now.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Leslie and Sean. Those were great presentations. I found myself screenshotting everything. I was like, oh man, that's great. So I hope everybody learned a lot here. The numbers are staggering. We're talking about VR and AR here, but the greater conversation around the metaverse has kind of really exploded in the crypto blockchain space as well. So you can't really separate them anymore. You've got, the ability to build virtual and augmented reality and 3D experiences, whether, they're called metaverse or VR, AR or whatever, but also now you have this decentralized economy underpinning it all. So I think we're in a really interesting time in humanity where we're taking completely disparate technologies. And really the metaverse to me is three technologies. It's, XR or virtual augmented mixed reality. You have cryptocurrencies and blockchain and NFTs. And then you also have AI. So computer vision, but also natural language processing. And all three of those disparate, completely seemingly separate technologies are all culminating to make what we are now referring to as the metaverse. And I'm going to take a quick step back to define what I think is the metaverse. And, really, to me, it's just a natural progression of the internet. The internet's been around, and I'm not really sure this internet thing's going to take off, though. So, Leslie, you've been around long enough to have real conversations back then with people that are like, oh, I don't think the internet's going to be a thing. You're like, really?
Absolutely.
Really?
What is the internet for?
Nobody's going to buy anything on the internet. Anyway, so we're kind of at that stage one of, there's people that believe in it, people that don't believe in it. Whether you do or not, it's coming anyway. So that's the reality of it. And the interesting thing in 2016, I guess 2014, I tried VR for the first time. I was invited to perform at Curiosity Camp with Eric Schmidt. And I was performing, and then I got to try virtual reality for the first time. And I was sitting in a little tent in the middle of nowhere. I put on this bulky DK1 Oculus headset, must have weighed 3 pounds, stuck it on my head, big headphones. And then they clicked the button, and I was standing on stage next to Beck, and he was playing guitar. And I was like in the spatial audio, and I looked over, and he was standing right here. And I looked out in the audience, and the audience was right there. And I was like, oh my God, this changes everything. As a performer for 20 years of my life, I was a DJ. And in doing that, I know what it's like to stand on stage. There's a rush, there's a feeling, there's a perspective that you can get that you can't get from anywhere else. Very few people get to stand on stage during a rock concert or during any concert and look out into the crowd. There's an energy you can feel that you can't get anywhere else. You can't stand above the crowd. Like, you can stand only on stage looking at it, and they're all looking at you, feeding it back. It's truly an experience. And I realized in that moment that this would be the future of human communication. And I didn't know, anything about this big box connected to a giant computer or anything. The gentleman who showed me that was a gentleman named Chris Milk. And Chris Milk has a company called Within they have gone on to do a bunch of things, but one of the latest things was Supernatural, which is an exercise thing in VR, which just got acquired by Facebook or Meta now. And so, things come full circle. From that moment, I said, I want to get into this space. I'm going to do whatever it takes. But I didn't know anything about the space. So I started learning, building things. We built, in the last 6 years, we've built over 120 projects in XR, and some of them 360 videos, some of them augmented reality, some web AR. We even built a physical sandbox with projectors and connects. So when you dug the sand, it auto changed the topography of the sand in real time. So we've been working on these projects for years. And a couple of years ago, we realized that the biggest challenge to all of this is the content creation at scale. Right now, you can go on your phone and you can take a photo or you can take a video and you can post it on Instagram, on Facebook, anywhere, all the social medias. And so we've gone from the text-based internet to photograph-based internet to video-based internet. And now we're moving to the metaverse or the 3D internet. And really what the metaverse is your internet, which normally now we're looking at. Now, let's just take a quick second to acknowledge how amazing it is that I'm able to look at Leslie as she's moving real time, see her lips, like this is real time communications from all over the world. I'm in Toronto, Leslie's in Shannon in Silicon Valley. People watching around the world are everywhere. Let's just take a second to acknowledge that massive feat of technological revolution. But then instead of now looking at a screen, I want to go into the screen. I want to walk around as an avatar. I want to go in virtual worlds and have this endless maze of really cool experiences. But also, when I'm not in front of my computer, I want the internet to come out to me. And that's where augmented reality comes in, where the whole internet is now around me in my space. So I think the metaverse is really a combination of the regular internet that we have, plus the internet you can go into, and the internet that comes out at you. And having this holistic approach, whether it's on a mobile device, whether it's on a computer, we're never getting rid of these, by the way. Whether we go to glasses or not, the Apple Watch didn't replace the phone. Apple's not going to sell you a pair of glasses that replace the phone. They're going to sell you a phone, a watch, and a pair of glasses at the same time. They all work together and they're going to be beautiful. But, when they release, that's all speculation right now, but they are working on it. But right now, we're in that point where the phone and your tablets and computers are all able to show the 3D internet. So one of the major challenges is content creation at scale. And, mostly these are created around, on game engines like Unity or Unreal. But the problem is you need to know how to code. It takes a while to learn. And 3D is not that easy. It's not as simple as a JPEG. So what we set out to do is we actually ended up merging with another company. And they had built a code option or a low code creation system where you could just drag and drop and hit publish. And because it's all in a web browser, you now have the ability to publish to billions of devices that are compatible with this. So you're not having to, push to an app and build one version for iOS, one version for, Android, one version for desktop, and one version for consoles. It's one click publish to all. And this solves a number of problems in the industry, but we're very excited. We just launched the product a year ago. 2.0 is coming out in the new year. And we call it the MetaVRse engine, and it's for everyone. And our mission at the company is metaverse creation for everyone. So very excited. And thank you for having me on this panel.
Excellent. Yeah, really interesting stuff, that you guys are doing. Alan, been kind of watching and reading about the metaverse. Good name, by the way. So
yeah, it seems all right now. I mean, 2016, it was, people were like, what is this? MetaVR, MetaVR? So yeah, we've had a lot of that. But since September, in the last 3 months, there has been over 320,000 articles mentioning the word metaverse. So I think we chose wisely.
Very good. So I wanna take it to you, Leslie. There's actually a question from the audience, so I want to ask you about this. This is from Heidi. She's asking, I'm very curious about real estate in the metaverse as it relates to domain names. I imagine there will be something similar. There will be a registration of real estate and how brands can start to leverage a bigger focus in innovating within that economy. So she wants to understand a little bit. I think, yesterday, by the way, Facebook or Meta bought the domain for $60 million for some company. So it's Meta that
Meta.com.
Is it Meta.com that they bought? 60 million bucks. What's your take on that, Leslie? Real estate, metaverse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, this goes back to what Alan was mentioning about NFTs. There's a lot of money that's changing hands right now in metaverse real estate, because I think is it in Sandbox where Snoop Dogg has a house, and then the houses around his, like just last week, were selling for like just stupid crazy amounts of money. So there's kind of that, like, there's that element that's happening right now, but then the other side, like real estate, we are in the physical world, we are limited by the size of the planet. There's no more Earth, than there is. But if you're talking about digital spaces, you can always create a new digital space. So the tension
So why
now
is there
becomes,
artificial scarcity is the question.
I know, and that's a question that I'm asking myself.
I've been looking at these things a lot and studying them and figuring out why anybody would buy this. And really, Leslie, you'll remember this, and so will you, Sean. Remember the $1 million website? I'll put a link into it. But basically was 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, and you could buy one pixel for $1, and people bought things. They made little images. And that's what Sandbox and Decentraland feel like to me right now. You're buying a piece of fixed real estate that they've fixed because they chose to only make it this big. They can easily expand it. I mean, it's digital. You can press a button and double it.
Just keep going. Yeah.
So it's artificial scarcity. And what they've done is I've done that to create a price on a value of plot of land. But really, that is completely useless and completely useless unless you put something on that land. And yes, you have a reason for people to come to that website. And the $1 million website back then was just really cool. I mean, it was very novel. But today, I think consumers want more. They want something. They want to be able to go somewhere and experience something, go with their friends. That's why Roblox, as of today, is about $65 billion company, because people can go there, they can build, they can play games, they can meet up with their friends, and it's less about a game and more about a social experience. And so if Decentraland and Superworld and Sandbox and these companies
and Somnium
start creating reasons for people to go there, and the brands that buy the land start creating reasons for people to go, then it's going to be awesome. But if not, if it's just buying a piece of land to put your logo on it, that's the $1 million website. We have it all over again.
Yeah, completely agree. And but there's going to be a multiplicity of these kinds of worlds, and so there is no limit from that point of view. But at the same time, there is a limit to how many plots actually abut Snoop Dogg's plot. So perhaps the limit comes from, the scarcity comes from who your neighbors are and who the cool experience is and what you've created yourself as a destination. So really what we're selling here and what they're selling is eyeballs. We're in the attention economy now, and attention is the most valuable asset that you can sell or trade. And so people, where the eyeballs go, the money flows. And so this is really what we're selling, is the attention economy right now. And so if Snoop Dogg draws a certain type of people, and maybe they're sneakerheads, maybe Adidas wants to be abutting to Snoop Dogg because they know that his fans are more likely to buy sneakers. Yep.
There
exactly.
you go. So Somnium Space, Earth 2, there's a bunch of them. Let's not discount the former one, the original Second Life. They're still going.
Still out there. Still
making almost $1 billion a year in virtual things. They were the OG. So it's all happening, and real estate in the metaverse is going to be a thing, and it's already a thing. And I think this whole idea of NFTs, we actually made an announcement this morning. I'll drop it in the chat. We announced a partnership with Hedera, which is an enterprise blockchain. And their claim to fame is that they're about 1 million times more efficient than Ethereum and Bitcoin. So really why we chose them is because of the environmental impacts. But, the ability to mint a digital or physical asset and track its provenance across different owners and allow them to trade these. And I think we're only just at the very beginning of it. And we're seeing this crazy boom of, okay, you got crypto kitties, then you have crypto punks, then you have Bored Apes. Those three are valuable. the million other ones that have jumped on the bandwagon, I'm not so sure. So I to quote Gary Vaynerchuk as of yesterday, he said 98% of the NFT projects that are out in the market today will fail and lose all their value. And I believe it's somewhere around there. And then what we're going to see in the next kind of, as we come out of that trough of disillusionment with NFTs and people in the market correction, what you're going to see is real utility. So being able to attach, a virtual world and mint a section of that virtual world or the whole virtual world and allow people to buy it or buy into it. I think this is super powerful, and we're only just scratching the surface of the possibilities of this. But to stick on the AR VR front, the power of the NFTs is only as good as the creator tools that are available for everybody.
Yeah, and actually, I would build on that. There was an article that Bill Gates back in 1993 was asked, "What is the internet for?" And he really couldn't answer. I think the example he gave was, "Oh, well, you can access any library, any book from any library in the world just instantly." And the person interviewing him was like, "Well, we have interlibrary loan. It's that's not so fabulous." And the point is that Bill Gates was actually in 1993 creating the internet without actually knowing what transformation it was going to bring. And we are in that same place with the metaverse. So we can look at things through the filters that we have today. And we can kind of see like, okay, maybe owning land next to Snoop Dogg's house, maybe I'm not quite sure what I would do with that, but I can see maybe it'll have some kind of value. I'm just going to guess and make a bet on it. That's kind of where we are now. But what actually develops and what transforms and what is transformed, that I think by 2030, we're going to, looking back at a recording of this today, they're like, oh, those poor people, they had no idea that gigantic change X was what the metaverse actually brought. We are not yet understanding what gigantic change X is, but we do know that once we have like more of a metaverse kind of thing, like the internet, it will not only be in itself transformative, but it will be interacting with other technologies, as you mentioned, AI, and to actually really that's when actually things really change. It's the internet itself, yes, vastly transformative, but when industries got disrupted, it was when the internet got put together with mobility and location-based, and now you've got things like Airbnb and Uber, and that's when everything really changes. So it's that's the kind of dynamics that we're going to be seeing over the next decade. And so it's why it's really hard to say what's going to be different.
I'm going to share my screen for a second here. This is a map of Decentraland. So, you can see that Atari bought this block, and you've got Atari's got this block over here, and then, whatever different brands are in here. And it kind of looks very similar, maybe a little prettier than the $1 Million homepage. It just kind of
what a great comparison! What a great comparison!
All right, like kind of similar, right? Maybe the blocks are a little bit bigger, but kind of the same thing. So I think that's where we're at right now. And what I think this talk is really about is really where is the utility being made? So. For example, once I'm in Decentraland, maybe I can build something like this. And this is actually something we built as a virtual store demo. So you can look around, you can walk around and look at different pieces of art. And the idea is that it's not just a map on a thing. It's actually something you can go in and you can experience. And so, if you wanted to look at, let's say, for example, NFTs, you can go in here. And here's an NFT gallery that you can go in and you can start to look at different NFTs. And so it has utility and fun. So you could join somebody in here and, you can walk around.
It's new technology only takes off when it solves a problem and when it solves an actual problem that people have. And so, utility is absolutely the key word here.
So one of the things that we've been doing, and I unfortunately can't share it because it's still under NDA, but one of the utilities of VR and AR, probably the most likely one to make people rich, is training. And it sounds counterintuitive because you would think marketing, retail, these types of things.
Super
training
important.
Has a direct correlation to value creation. So Right
Yes.
now, we're in a time where in the next decade, and I'm going to put out a bold statement, in the next decade, every single human on the planet needs to be reskilled in some way, shape, or form. The jobs that we're creating didn't exist before. If you look back 12 or 13 years ago, app developer wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even a job. Now there's millions and millions of app developers. So we're starting now. There's avatar creators, there's world builders, there's environmental designers, there's people building real estate in the metaverse that are now never going to build that into a physical real estate. So there's architects building for the metaverse. So training is that one thing that everybody needs. And we've been working with a medical device company, and they're revolutionizing and changing all of their training to 3D. Meaning, the training that they used to fly people in for, now they do on a computer. And the idea is that you can take a digital twin, take the CAD models, they already exist for manufactured products. You take the CAD models, you add some animations, you add the step-by-step instructions on how to use it, how to maintain it, or how to repair it. And now you've got a full web-based experience that anybody on any device can access to repair those devices. So I can go to repair a machine with nothing more than my phone and the internet, and step-by-step instructions. I can walk myself through myself, no help. I can walk myself through every nut, bolt, and screw on how to repair that machine. Now that is super powerful. And if you think, we're they said the Great Resignation this year, but really what's happening over the next decade, a ton of boomers are going to retire just simply because they're at that age and they don't want to work. They amassed enough wealth, they never have to work again. Okay, great. But they take with them the knowledge of 20, 30 years of experience. And when you take that away and you don't figure out a way to transfer that to the younger generations who are taking over those positions, you have a recipe for disaster. And so XR affords us now the ability to do that at scale. And the other thing it allows us to do is allows those retired workers to maybe work a couple days a week at home in a VR headset, guiding somebody in the field. Why not? And so for the cost of a $300 headset, you now have a field support worker with years and years of experience that never has to leave the house. Because really, people don't want to retire. They just don't want to go to work. So if they can retire and sit at home and help a couple hours a day, they're going to do it for sure. So I think this is a huge opportunity for brands to leverage the consumer technology to really drive value creation in the organization.
Yeah, and I think you're right there, Alan. I mean, especially we see a lot of use cases around training as well, and so when we, especially for the type of jobs, so think about some industrial jobs, manufacturing jobs, and so on, where there's some heavy training that needs to happen, shadowing and so on from people to people. But there are some organizations that are just sitting on the sideline, waiting for this AR VR revolution to come through. Why do you think this is the right time to start working with these immersive technologies? And this goes for both of you guys.
Why is now the right time?
That's right.
It's not the right time if you want to go to business. It's a great time to just pack up and stop innovating. If you're an older business and you want to retire and you want to just close down your business and sell it off and be done with it, it's a great time to do nothing. Otherwise, get to work. This stuff is happening around you, and your competitors, I can tell you, having worked with a large number of large companies right now, they're making big investments in this, and they're making mistakes. And this is uncharacteristic of large corporations. Typically, they want it all proven, but we don't live in that era anymore. So you need to make mistakes, and you need to do it fast. So the companies that are getting in now that have been working with us for 2-3 years have made all the mistakes. Now they're seeing creation value at scale, and now they don't want to tell anybody, which is why I can't tell you, and show you what we're doing, because they have a distinct advantage over their competitors, like a vast competitive advantage. So the fact they got in early, made a bunch of mistakes with us, we learned, we this worked, this didn't work, we tested, we really, measured against KPIs and baseline, and we found the value, and now they're scaling it. So they're already, if you haven't started, they're scaling and you're starting. You're now 2 years behind, period. And 2 years in a technological exponential growth curve is the difference between staying in business and not.
Yeah, and I mean, think about, if it's 1993 with the internet again. And so if you want to not be learning about this technology and not be understanding how it's useful for your business, then don't do anything except you will be behind. And, we saw with the internet, large companies got completely disrupted overnight because they didn't adequately prepare for their business to move into a new medium. And this is exactly the same thing happening again.
So how do these organizations start? What do they need to do? I mean, a lot of them have pretty much, they know how to run businesses, they know how to create products, maybe have services and so on. But how do they start?
It's a great question. I'm going to put a link right now to an article I wrote called The Brand Guide to the Metaverse. There's one article is basically what's happening. The part 2 of the article, which I dropped in, is how to get started. So to answer your exact question, I wrote a whole article on it. And the reality of it is content creation is the key. The problem is all the cool content is made by game developers. Like games have been using 3D and the same technologies for years and years. And you can hire some game developers to start building for you, but eventually, if you're building, let's say, medical device training, if you pull a game developer off making games and putting them on medical device training, you can keep them for a little bit, but they're going to be bored because that's not the thing. So you have to start training your teams internally, which is why we built MetaVRse as a low-code system, so
Very
that
good point.
the subject matter experts who are already passionate about training or about these things can really start building it themselves without having to hire game developers to help them. You should be able to have your own teams build the stuff for you. And one of the other major issues is, where do you host it? And so we built our engine so that it can be self-hosted, because one of the first or second question is always, what is the security around this, and can we host it ourselves? And so, building that infrastructure, took some time, but now you can host it. You can use your own teams to build it, and it's not foreign, to the language of the web. We have full JavaScript capabilities. So you have many companies have JavaScript developers for their websites and for other things, and so it's a natural progression into that. And I think really it's around getting your internal teams caught up to speed with this, because it's not going to be, you can't just keep hiring people from outside. They don't exist. You have to train people for this. And so the faster you can get them up and running, the better.
Yeah, upskilling is going to be very important. So we have about, I think we're coming to a close. So I want to thank you guys. I want to thank all the attendees. Number one, I want to thank Leslie and Alan for being a great panelist, and for your keynote, Leslie, as well. So just to kind of sum it up, one thing that I wanted to mention, the presentation, kind of the POV that we created, I'll make it available to everyone in the session. So if you need a copy, just email me. It's Sean, SEAN, at zinnov.com, and I'll email you back kind of there's some other slides, that I didn't cover. So a little bit of the history, I think that would be interesting. Some other slides, in terms of kind of next steps and what to expect. So other than that, I think this, hope you guys kind of learned a little bit and enjoyed, the session. And I want to thank everyone for attending, and you have a fantastic rest of the week and a great holiday season as well.